let me introduce our very special guest speaker for today's hour-long conversation about journey to formation and impact. We are really happy to be joined by Lito, one of our very newest members of the Alliance, but actually the Fintech Alliance Philippines has been going a long time before joining the Alliance, so had many years to form, some wonderful learning experiences that we can all pick up from. And I'm really excited that he's taken the time to, and thank you very much, Lito, for spending an hour with us today. So I'll hand straight over to you without further ado.
Thank you, Sarah. And of course, it's a pleasure again to be seeing familiar faces whom I met in Cape Town. And that was a great, 3-day experience, no? Having to meet all of you. And I think this is also an opportunity for us to do some sharing in terms of best practices when it comes to what we have been doing in this part of the world, and as well as how we can practically get some insights or inputs in terms of how we would be able to also apply some of those best practices in our respective jurisdictions. So if I may be allowed to share my screen. So allow me to share the screen.
Yep, that should be, you should be able to.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
you go.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Great. Okay, so I will be sharing with you this today. This snapshot of what Fintech Alliance.ph has been doing, and since we were established way back in November of 2017. So next slide, please. Okay, so far we have over 60 corporate entities. These are leading digital fintech players in the Philippines. This would include practically unicorns, from startups to unicorns, and collectively, the membership now contributes or generates almost 90% of digital initiated transactions volume in the Philippines today. So that's how massive the contribution of the membership insofar as fintech or digital presence or footprint in the Philippines. So note that some of these companies or members are practically multinational companies. I mean, the likes of Alibaba, Home Credit, and the like. So because some of them would be telcos, some of them would be banks, some of them would be vendors. So that's why we have a very robust membership. So next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so just to share with you the mission. So our mission, I think that is part of that was part of our discussion when we were in Cape Town in terms of having to formulate our own mission, vision, our purpose for the Digital Alliance. When we were in Cape Town, but in Fintech Alliance.ph in the Philippines, we had this exercise, and practically we already amended our mission vision for the second time, because again we have to update ourselves or be able to practically generate or embrace what's the current landscape for this fintech space. So in terms of our mission, we see ourselves as the catalyst for inclusive and sustainable development through responsible fintech innovation that empowers Filipinos. So far as our vision is concerned, next slide. By 2022, this year, Fintech Alliance.ph will be a recognized self-regulating organization in the ASEAN that has empowered millions of Filipinos to be part of the formal financial system. So in fact, the Philippines, we are now in discussion with the Securities and Exchange Commission on how we will be able to police our ranks amongst fintech players in the Philippines, because knowing the fact that fintechs are practically borderless. So, and we have seen quite a number of illegal or unregistered online lending companies that are also offering their services to Filipinos. And practically most of these Filipinos would be victims of this illegal online lender. So that's why we are being tapped by government, by the regulator, insofar as having to police our ranks. And that's actually part of our collaboration with the government. Next slide, please. So this would be, currently we are composed of, well, the board of trustees would be composed of about 15 members. So far we have 14. So if you notice, we have, these trustees would come from big entities, no, or fintech players in the Philippines, the likes of Alibaba, the likes of Home Credit, of Paymaya, of GCash, Coins.ph, Grab, etc. So this is a mix of practitioners in the fintech space. Next slide, please. And I think one of the things that we also discussed during our sessions, in Cape Town was about membership. So I just would like to share with you the membership types that we have. So we have uh, three types of membership. So we have the regular member, and in terms of description of who that member is, it's a juridical entity, it's a corporation, it's a corporate entity that is validly and legally organized in the laws of the jurisdiction where it is organized. So, for example, it's not just in the Philippines, but for example, we have Salesforce, we have Microsoft, we have, so definitely those are organized or established in the jurisdictions where they were originally set up. So in this particular case, they have a voting right of times 10. And this is to ensure that fintechs will continue to dominate the alliance despite the entry of allied industry members. So this is to make sure that the fintech the fintech alliance would not be monopolized by vendors, but should be the fintech practitioners themselves. And among those rights would be the right to vote in all matters during membership meetings, right to appoint a representative to represent the member in all membership meetings. And so far as fees are concerned, they have to pay a one-time membership of 100,000 pesos, or about $1,916 US dollars, and the annual fee would be about 958 US dollars. Okay, so that's an annual dues. So for allied, and of course for regular members, note that there is also a criteria for you to be able to qualify as a regular member. So this would include the minimum capitalization requirement, and the business of the applicant should mainly be on deposits or facilitation or transfer of value or assets. And the member should serve Philippine customers or the Philippine market and maybe local or foreign owned. For allied members, again, it's a corporation or an entity that's also registered, and it only has one vote. And that the right is the right to vote in all matters during membership meetings, the right to appoint a representative to represent a member in all membership meetings, and same fees that they need to pay, one-time membership fee of 1,916 US dollars and annual dues of 958 US dollars. Next slide, please. Okay, so another type of membership is honorary. So this honorary will be referring to a natural or juridical person. Note that it is not a corporation. So it may be a person identified by the Board of Trustees to be qualified to be granted honorary membership status. So honorary members shall be identified based on their significant contributions to the alliance of the field of fintech. So for example, a retired governor of the central bank could be an honorary member, or a what do you call this, or the Director General of Asian Development Bank, for example. So there's no voting right, and the right to appoint a representative to represent a member in all membership meetings, and there will be no fees involved here. Now, the founding member, for example, in my case, I'm a founding chairman, I'm also a founding member. So if, for example, you retired already from your company, or you have moved to another organization, you could still be a member in with the status as a founding member. So this shall be the existing members of the Alliance as of June 15, 2020. Note that we were established as early as November 2017. So that will be the cutoff. So the founding member shall be classified either as a regular or allied member and shall have the rights according to each class of member. So, and the applicable fees for regular and allied members shall also apply. Okay. So, and the partner organization or networks. So this is another type of membership wherein we are now inviting international organizations, the likes of UN, IFC, Asian Development Bank, and other fintech organizations in the region or globally. And again, there are no fees involved. Next slide, please. So this would be, it's about 18 requirements just for us to process a membership application. So normally a membership application would be processed in about 2 to 3 weeks. So because we have to do the vetting ourselves, ensuring that they have complete documentation, etc. So normally we also reject some membership applications, for various reasons. So for example, one of which would be the board of directors must be able to adopt the code of conduct and code of ethics of the FinTech Alliance as good corporate citizens, and of course compliance with all the required rules and regulations by the country, and being able to also be active in the alliance activities. Next slide, please. So these are some of the last year's pillars, of accomplishments that we have so far, implemented. So this would be sustaining exponential growth in digital transactions from alliance members, harnessing industry thought leadership, removing the barriers to financial inclusion, promoting consumer protection initiatives, ensuring compliance to the Data Privacy Act, expanding financial education and social development strategies, strengthening partnerships for policy development and capacity building, and continuing collaboration with international organizations. Next slide, please. Okay, so we are the premier thought leader in the fintech space in the Philippines. So we are the go-to entity or partner by both legislators and policymakers, regulators. So we would have even management organizations, for example, or professional organizations would invite FinTech Alliance to for joint statements, for example, on particular specific economic or digital initiatives, such as, for example, on crafting the tax bill, for example, on bank deposit secrecy bill, on Public Service Act, on proposed Financial Consumer Protection Act, on pricing, on the submission on pricing of interest rates or capping of interest rates, on statement against online lending apps, upholding the sanctity of duty independence vested in the Commission on Audit, and the surge on tech scams, for example, and the advocacy, because we recently had our national and local elections. We also had an advocacy campaign on responsible use of digital payments platforms in partnership with the government, and the Anti-Money Laundering Council, and of course the relevant bills, congressional bills, on digital taxation, and promoting financial inclusion, rural financial inclusion and literacy, and other pertinent pieces of legislation. Next slide, please. On top of this, we are also being tapped by international organizations such as the UNDP. In fact, we are one of those organizations that was invited to be part of the technical working group on the Stockholm Plus 50 national consultation, whose objective is to ensure the international meeting is informed by whole of society and whole of government. And the main output is more on having to generate a national report on process and key outputs. So this would definitely be more on the three agenda items that they have defined for the post-pandemic recovery efforts. And as the representative on the digital space, we've been requested to to contribute in developing the roadmap or the blueprint for the post-pandemic recovery. Next slide, please. And also, we are the Philippine representative to the 10 times 1,000 initiative of the ANT group. So we had this launch in the region where about 18 fintech associations from about 18 countries in the Asia Pacific region were signed up by 10 times 1,000 ANT group for its flex for inclusion. So we have our members enroll, or we nominate our members to be part of the enrollment into those various programs that they have curated for specific set of fintech practitioners. Next slide, please. And of course, as I've said, we are being tapped by regulators, by Congress, in terms of us being able to provide that thought leadership, such as, for example, data for green financing, on blue financing, on having to have the suggested loans payment moratorium at the height of the pandemic. Before it was being proposed to have a 1-year loan payment moratorium, but it was Congress, based on our suggestion to them, to limit it to just about a maximum of 3 months waiver or payment holiday at the height of that was in 2020. So next slide, please. And also, we are the first in the Asia Pacific, in the ASEAN region, to have adopted the Code of Ethics and Code of Conduct insofar as for consumer protection, governance, compliance, data privacy, security, and digital literacy. This was launched at the headquarters of the National Privacy Commission in partnership with the other government agencies and regulators such as the National Privacy Commission, Securities Exchange Commission, the Central Bank of the Philippines, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, Insurance Commission, and the Anti-Money Laundering Council. Next slide, please. And of course, this was also done in 2021, last year, on the anti-money laundering signing of the information sharing protocol. So this was actually more on having to further strengthen the AML stance of the Philippines in the global scale. Next slide, please. And of course, we do have, since 2018, we've been generating or releasing the annual Philippines Fintech Report. So recently, we released it last December 2021 for the Fintech Report 2022. So this is now the entire industry as well as government, the private sector would have this as their reference, insofar as having to assess the health of the fintech space in the Philippines. So we are the ones producing this in partnership with Fintech News Singapore as we are the publisher, and they are the ones who serves as our co-editor. Next slide, please. And also, as I've said, we have this advocacy campaign on responsible use of digital payment platforms. This was participated in by all the digital payment platforms provider in the Philippines in partnership with the government. And this is the first massive government-private initiative to counter uh, vote buying, vote selling in the national and local elections. Next slide, please. And again, strong regulatory engagement. So for any draft regulations by the central bank, by National Privacy Commission, by SEC, we would be given advanced copies or draft copies for our and requesting for our insights, comments, recommendations on how to further improve those draft regulations. And of course, we are being invited as well in Senate public hearings or congressional hearings, such as, for example, this one. The one you're seeing on the screen would be the Senator Pia Cayetano, who is the Senate Committee Chair of the Public Services Committee. So this is a virtual uh, public hearing by the Senate talking about the value-added tax imposition on digital transactions in the Philippines. Next slide, please. So again, we also have various events and webinars. We partner practically foreign entities would partner with us for various activities such as the British Embassy, Alibaba Cloud, Deloitte, and the other, even ILO, and a lot of other entities would be partnering with the Fintech Alliance in the pursuit of sponsoring various webinars. Next slide, please. One of this would be this was actually our first webinar after March 2019. I think this was the second month after the hard lockdown, when we had the first onset of COVID-19. So, and this was actually the highest views. We registered the highest views online because this was the first online or the first webinar or the online session that we had in the Philippines by Fintech Alliance, generating over 118,000 views. So that was the first of its kind webinar that we had right after the imposition of the hard lockdown. Next slide, please. Okay, and of course, we have this annual every other year summit. We call it Index, or the Inclusion Digital Transformation Summit. So we had this first summit in 2019, and this was held at the Philippine International Convention Center. So next slide, please. And also we launched the first taxonomy of fintech in the Philippines. This was the first book launched entitled Uncharted Beyond, which I'm the editor of this fintech taxonomy book in the Philippines. This now became the Bible for fintech practitioners as well as fintech investors who would want to go in the Philippine fintech industry. That is actually the one showing on the screen would be the governor of the central bank. And of course, next slide. And of course, we also launched the Ignite. Now, this is in honor of the late Governor Nestor Espinilla. It's called Ignite because it stands for Institute for Growth towards National Inclusion, Transformation, and Empowerment. So this would be the captains of industries who are the members of this initial group. So we have cabinet members here, officials coming from the Asian Development Bank and the private sector. Next slide, please. And of course, we are very much active in the crafting of the National Strategy for Financial Inclusion. That was also launched in November 2021. Next slide, please. It's also the same same material. No? So we had this launching. This is a hybrid launch mix of virtual and face-to-face. No? The one at the center is the governor of the central bank, together with the minister of interior and local government beside on my right side, and of course the other cabinet members. Next slide, please. And again, quite a number of partnerships. I won't detail this anymore, but as I've said, we have quite a number of international and local partners. Next slide, please. As I've said, we also have this existing collaboration with Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance of the University of Cambridge on the ASEAN Access to Digital Finance Survey, as well as setting a satellite, satellite campus, for RegTech courses to be conducted by University of Cambridge in partnership with Papua University, which is known to be the MIT or of the Philippines, in partnership with Fintech Alliance. Next slide, please. And of course, we also have digital philanthropy initiatives. And of course, you know that Philippines would have, a series of national calamities. We have, earthquakes. We have frequent typhoons. We're visited by an average of 21 cyclones every year. So that's why we have this regular philanthropic initiatives where donations are done digitally. Next slide, please. And of course, a partnership with Deloitte and other entities. So we have this executive learning series that will also start next month, is June. So every Friday of the month of June, we will have various sessions that would focus on shifting all gears to thrive in the future of work. Next slide, please. And see, these are some of our global partners. So the AFIN, Alliance for Fintech Network, EPA Asia, Cambodia Fintech Association, etc. So these are some of those partners that we currently have. Next slide, please. Yeah, okay, I'll be sharing with you a video. This is actually our 2021 accomplishment report, as well as some of the testimonials of some of the members of the Alliance. MJ, can you please show the video?
This is Alan. I'm the country manager from the Alibaba Cloud Intelligence. Firstly, allow me to express my honors and also best wishes to all the attendants during today's meeting. In the past years, the Philippines has invested a lot of efforts to encourage new industries into the digital economy. Especially, we have seen big and also massive growing about the fintech business and also opportunities in the past year of 2020. Also, again, just let me to send my best wishes to all the attendants today. Okay, thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Angelo Madrid and I'm the country manager for Tala. We are a very proud member of the Fintech Alliance. We couldn't thank enough this organization for being a critical partner in shaping our nascent fintech ecosystem. Tala wouldn't be where it is today without the Fintech Alliance. We're so happy to see the continued growth of our membership, and we couldn't be more excited to build the future of fintech with all of you. Welcome to Fintech Alliance and see you all soon. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Erwin Yamsuan from Grab Philippines. We chose to join the Fintech Alliance mainly because of the role it plays in representing the industry with key stakeholders and regulators in the country. This has proven invaluable in situations in the past where the Alliance has been able to effectively represent the interests of its members.
Citizen joined Fintech Alliance because Alliance follows good governance with code of ethics in place, and as a self-regulating organization, it represents channel between industry players like Citizen and government regulators that foster transparent and holistic regulatory environment.
The Alliance embodies the leaders of the fintech industry and a collaboration among strategic players in the digital finance space, empowering financial inclusivity and millions of Filipinos to be part of the formal financial system.
It also acts as a catalyst for inclusive and sustainable development through responsible fintech innovation, which is in line with Citi's mission to empower Filipinos through alternative financing and digitization. Onwards to financial inclusion with Alliance.
I joined Fintech Alliance because of its collaborative nature and its mission to provide inclusivity for every Filipino.
As a law firm involved in the IT space for the last 20 years, we know all too well that apart from representing clients, we also need to help in shaping policy. In this space, the Fintech Alliance has demonstrated the ability to provide its members a voice in government initiatives that affect the industry. It is for this and other reasons that we are proud to join the Fintech Alliance.
We joined the Fintech Alliance to be at the forefront of innovation and thought leadership in the fintech industry. Being a member allowed us to connect to business leaders and regulators to push our vision to provide lifetime financial security and healthier lives for our clients.
Home Credit is one of the industry leaders. We appreciate the opportunity to be part of the organization that brings together fintech players in the Philippines. Fintech Alliance is a platform where industry leaders meet and work together with the regulators on making it possible to empower every Filipino to be financially capable.
Hi, this is Miko Perez, founder and CEO of Ayana. We are a fintech company making digital financial services more inclusive through open banking and omni-channel distribution. We are a founding member of the Fintech Alliance as we saw the need to unite, to effectively collaborate with regulators, spur innovation and inclusion, and ensure the integrity of the financial system as it undergoes digital transformation. Let's make life better through inclusive digital financial services.
I joined the Fintech Alliance because I recognized right away that we share the same vision of bringing the fintech community together and uplifting the lives of the Filipinos through accessible and reliable financial services.
We at OEC Bank are honored to be part of Fintech Alliance alongside fellow industry leaders in the emerging digital finance scene. OEC Bank is primed to take on a more prominent role in advancing financial inclusion and digital transformation in the country. We look forward to having meaningful and impactful collaborations with all of you towards these shared goals.
When the Alliance was formed, fintech was still in the very early stages, with companies operating in an industry with evolving practices and regulations. We saw the opportunity to collaborate with other companies to further the growth of the fintech industry while we set the standards for self-regulation.
As we all know, the Philippines is at a critical point in accelerating the digitization of transactions and expanding financial inclusion. This makes it imperative for fintech companies to have a forum for cooperation and open engagement to help move our emerging industry forward with speed and urgency. Our collective actions will ensure that we are able to create the next phase of digitization in financial services speedily and sustainably. Being a part of Fintech Alliance allows all of us members to work openly with not only with the other players and stakeholders in financial services, but also very importantly with our regulators. To our new members, a warm welcome to the Fintech Alliance, and we look forward to your participation and engagement to drive financial inclusion in the Philippines. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to Coins.ph to be a part of Fintech Alliance.ph. It's a great honor for us to be among all of you. And for us, the reason to join Fintech Alliance.ph was to be connected to the leaders of the fintech ecosystem in Philippines and to help us achieve the mission of Coins.ph of increasing financial inclusion. Thank you.
Yeah, so there's another last video, which is the accomplishment, the chairman's report. Other video.
FintechAlliance.ph has been at the forefront in pushing massive digital transformation. 2021 may still be full of roadblocks and challenges, but there's no stopping the Alliance in moving forward as we take this ride to a financially inclusive and fully digital Philippines. Join us as we take a look back at our digital journey. The most scenic view of our efforts thus far is best expressed by this. Close to 90% of digital transactions nationwide has been facilitated by the products and services of our members. This exponential growth is a strong indication that the rest of the country is now ready for the digital wave. FintechAlliance.ph has been in unison with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas in fulfilling its twin goals in its digital payments transformation roadmap. The Alliance has been tapped for its inputs and insights in a number of key circulars, two of which were game-changing regulations on digital bank licensing and open finance framework, among others. This year, we have also made significant inroads in removing long-time obstacles to digital acceleration and financial inclusion. Part of this is our push for wider, reliable, and affordable data access in the country, and our support to the government's PhilSys national ID projects. The Alliance has also worked with several government agencies and regulators for initiatives that will help protect our consumers and end users from fraud and other malpractices, such as joining other stakeholders and groups in releasing a statement of support to the proposed Financial Consumer Protection Act. This is part of our commitment to make our innovations more human-centric as we continue to push for digital acceleration. As trailblazers of financial technology in the Philippines, it is a must for us to put premium in securing private information that our clients entrust to us. That is why we emphasize the need to comply with the country's data privacy laws and regulations by releasing position papers, joint statements, memorandums, and participation in different webinars and consultative meetings. Trust remains to be the most important currency in the industry. The Alliance continues to be a committed advocate for financial education and social development in the country. Through different activities done online this year, we have contributed in campaigning for a more grassroots financial literacy strategy, in promoting gender inclusion and women empowerment, and in upskilling workers and MSMEs, especially with our partnerships with the Department of Trade and Industry. Policy development and capacity building are also important pillars of the work that we do here in the Alliance. The position papers and memorandums we have published and the consultative meetings we have participated in has amplified the voice of our industry in both houses of Congress and have become key references for landmark bills. As we value continuous learning and development in the Alliance, our growing partnerships with international organizations ensure that the Alliance will not stagnate and will continue to build on its legacy of excellence in digital finance innovations. The journey for the Alliance does not end here. We move forward, determined to create more valuable experiences for our fellow Filipinos and arrive at a more digital and financially inclusive Philippines.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you for listening.
That's so wonderful, Lito. I took lots of notes during that session as I was inspired by a lot of what you said. I think it's brilliant. Thank you very much. I want to open up the floor though, because I've got some questions, but I also want to hear more importantly, from those of you that are on the line, what your questions are. So those of you that have got questions, I don't know if you want to pop your hand up or pop your questions in the chat, so that we can really sort of begin to learn and unpick how, from an idea, and I'm emphasizing that some of our associations may feel on the line right now may feel a little overwhelmed because they're on the very beginnings of their journey. And Lito, you've obviously, pushed forward through those initial startup moments to being a really, amazing organization. But, I really want to sort of try and help those that are in different stages figure out how they're going to get themselves on a similar trajectory path, obviously relevant to their association, but as yours. So Maxime, I see you've put some questions in the chat and you've got your hand up, so let me come and get you to ask a question first before Kagiso. I also see yours up. I'll come to you next. So Maxime.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you to Lito for this brilliant presentation. It was really, really impressive, and I think that you are doing really great things over there in Philippines. Actually, I have two questions. So the first question I have is about the case that you are making within before the Philippine Senate. Can you give us two examples of problems that you experienced within the fintech industry and that you have taken to the Senate? And what interests me the most is how did you go about making your case before the Senate? So this is the first question. The second and last question, when you present the board and the membership of the association, it is obvious that you first represent fintechs and that you keep, and it can be, I understood that, for example, that you keep the more important voting rights to the fintech. So I would like to know if in Philippines there is another association which in a certain way is, if I can say, more balanced, I mean, in terms of membership, which is not only fintechs, an association, for example, which gather regulators, fintechs, mobile network operators, banks. Do you have such type of association in Philippines? And if yes, what is your relationship with such association? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maxine. So that's quite a loaded questions. But okay, first, on your first questions, what would be those challenges? Now, for example, just to cite an example, there was a bill proposed by senators and congressmen on digital taxation, right? So when we were asked to comment about it, and when we were requested to be present, during the public hearings, so we had to come up with our own position paper as an industry, right? So what we told them as our insight or as our recommendations, that there is no need for additional taxation to tax the fintech players or the digital players in the Philippines. The issue now is on how to collect those existing value-added tax from the players, right? So they were able to accept that as our position without them having to provide additional taxation to the fintech digital players, but only on how to come up with a simplified way of collecting. So it's not new taxation, it's about collection of taxes. So on your second question, if there is a balanced membership of existing in the Philippines, in fact, Fintech Alliance is the most balanced right now. That's only the organization that has, actually, if you saw the membership types, not membership types, but the members inside Fintech Alliance. We have telcos, so we have Globe and Smart there. So we have insurance companies there. We have law firms there, law firms who are into the tech space. We have, of course, we have banks, we have fintechs, we have vendors, and we have what else? We have even cooperatives, we have rural banks, etc. So that will be that's the balance that we have. So it's not purely fintech. So we have insurtech, we have wealth tech, we have InvestTech, RegTech, SupTech, all the techs. So it's not just exclusive to fintech. Thank you. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lito.
Can I ask a follow-up question, Lito, to that? So, I mean, it's wonderful that you are consulted now by the Senate, by the central bank. How did you get yourselves on their radar? Because that's where many people on this call are right now. They've got the ideas, they want to contribute to these papers and, you know, new regulations, new concepts. How did you get yourselves on the radar to be consulted and invited in the first place?
I think our proactiveness insofar as having to come up with white papers without them asking you for it in the first place during those first few years, right? Establishing your presence or establishing your credibility in the industry by way of writing scholarly works, for example, on particular issues or concerns of the country, but of course focusing on digital, right? So I think that has been the precursor for you to be able to get the attention of the likes of the Senate, of Congress, of regulators, etc. Because once they see that you have integrity, once they see that you have credibility, once they see that you have you have sense, you make sense in whatever you say, for example, they listen to you, right? So you now become an authority. You become now the, what do you call this? Yeah, the authority and a resource for government, so that they will be able to listen to you, right? Because otherwise, it would really take so much effort for you to gain that, that respect in the industry, right? Because at the end of the day, and of course, that semblance of, how would I say it, of being fair, of being cohesive and inclusive, and as representative of the industry. You are not just, for example, in my case, I have my company. I'm the officer of executive of the company, but whenever I deal with the regulators, with legislators, I am wearing my hat as a fintech alliance chair, but I'm not in any. I will not in any way put in anything. Put a good word about my company, for example, because that is in a way a conflict of interest, right? So there should be, you should be clear about the demarcation line between your private business, leanings versus your role as a unbiased or unjaded or not jaded person of influence insofar as having to push the interest of the industry.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Lito. I like the conflict of interest is, and make the two hats. I think that's really a great distinction there too.
Sometimes it's quite hard.
I can imagine it be, and also see people seeing you in those different ways, right? Because they're used to seeing you at meetings as being from one company, and now you're representing another. That I guess it can be confusing and challenging, and I'm sure other people on the call, I know I feel that sometimes, just with Digital Frontiers and Alliance of Digital Finance Associations hats on it. You're wearing both at the same time. It's not easy.
Actually, Sarah, on top of that, it's not just about that thing, but also being seen by your members as someone who is so fair. I mean, for example, we have members who are competing companies, right, in the industry. Say, for example, GCash or Paymaya, etc. So I should not be seen as favoring the one over the other, right? So, for example, even for example, as petty as having to have billing issues. I mean, who comes first in the in the list of members? So the rule of thumb is, as always, alphabetical order, right? So sometimes they would say, oh, can we have the first? It's either you put the order of members in terms of the roster as those who first joined the the FinTech Alliance in terms of number in terms of the year or the date they were approved as members, or based on their capitalization, or based on whether they are big or small, right? So again, rule of thumb, it should always be alphabetical order. So no questions asked.
Yeah, and I guess that also is a reminder to everyone when we're thinking of doing webinars or events, who we allow to sponsor or co-brand with. That can all affect our, how fair we seem, right?
True. That's very true. So as a leader, you have to be fair.
Yes, for sure. Kagiso, I'm going to come to you with your question because I know we've only got a few minutes left.
Thanks, Sarah. Lito, what an excellent presentation, man. Much appreciated. I'm sure like many people here, we're learning a lot. Quick one from me. Actually, you've answered two of the questions regarding partnership with government or the Senate. One that I think it's important for us, especially the starting associations, is that how do you convince the founding members to join the association? Like these, we have your Alibaba, Alipay there, and many others, especially the big ones. How do you convince them that it makes sense for them to join? I don't know if that question makes sense to you.
Yeah. In fact, to your question, we're not even active in terms of marketing our membership. No. So they would normally just email us and they would express interest to become a member. So we're not actively campaigning or marketing that. So it's we would want to invite you to become members of the FinTech Alliance. We're not doing that. So it's more them going to us or asking that they could apply for a membership. So to your question, how do we entice or how would these big names be so interested to become members of the Alliance? I think, as I've said, if you've seen the accomplishments thus far, and those accomplishments are actually being done on a yearly basis. So we have to make sure that for whatever amount that they will be putting in as their initial membership fee or their annual dues, I mean, it should be compensated with lots of value that they could generate out of their membership, right? So because at the end of the day, once we send them their invoices for their annual dues, there will be no questions from their side saying, why would I pay the annual dues when in fact I'm not getting any value out of this membership, right? So in fact, we don't even have an issue collecting our annual dues. They will be the one to voluntarily pay their annual dues. So I mean, that's how I think we've established our credibility to be a force to reckon with, and as a source of thought leadership and that that stature in the industry. So I think it's really on how you create that or establish your credibility in the industry. And I think you've also seen the video, the testimonials of the president and CEOs of these member companies saying about why they applied for membership, right? So they're getting that value that that comes with that membership. So I think that's why we ourselves are also quite surprised, with the likes of Alibaba, of Microsoft, of the big international companies applying for membership.
Thanks, Lito.
Thank you.
I love that value add. We talked about that on those 3 days we were together in Cape Town. And for those of you that weren't with us in Cape Town, there was a document I circulated, I think it was last week or the week before, that summarized some of what those values could be. So I think that's a good place for some of you to start and look back on. But I also think that you can only generate credibility by doing something. You need to actually produce something, whether that's a white paper or some sort of regular thought leadership or events, webinars. You need to be out there, right? Because people are not going to join unless they can see what impact that you're making.
Yeah. Actually, Sarah, just to add, in fact, I wasn't able to include here we would always be invited for TV interviews. Uh, TV interviews, and requesting us to submit articles on specific topics. And I think one of the questions here from Maxine as well is if we recruit consultants to write our white paper or our position papers. No, we don't tap consultants. Amongst ourselves, we draft those white papers, and then we come up with we ask everyone to comment on that draft. So they will provide their inputs. So and then we come up with that final output, no? Approved by all the members. So normally I would draft it myself, and then of course with the consent of all the members, and whenever I present it to them. So for additional inputs as well. So that's how it is. So in terms of us being able to to contribute to a specific article or white paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Lito.
I think Diana.
Yes, Diana.
Diana, I think you're on. We cannot hear you.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Lito.
Hi, Diana. Nice to hear your voice again.
Thank you very much
Oh,
for
it's
presentation.
choppy.
Hi
You're coming in
again.
choppy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's better now.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Great. I have two questions. The second question you had kind of answered it, but I'll still ask anyway. One, your membership consists of corporate memberships. My first question is,
Diana, we're struggling to hear you with your internet connection. I'm not sure whether you could maybe try typing in the chat.
Yeah, we cannot. You're coming in choppy,
Oh,
Diana.
dear.
Maybe we could. Yeah, maybe we could put it in the chat box.
Yeah.
How about now? I think I should climb over a tree.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Take 3.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to remain in this position. So thank you very much, Lito, for that great presentation. And it was also nice to meet you in Cape Town. Just for the benefit of those who are on this call who may not have gone to Cape Town, I have two questions. One, you mentioned, I saw in your beautiful presentation, it's mainly corporate companies, the big companies. Do you have individuals? Do you have individual members as part of your membership? That is one. And then two, you mentioned that your members always look forward to renewing their membership. So how is it that you keep them engaged? I know you talked about the white papers that you write and the engagements with the government, but there are a number of members whom I believe you have. So could you share with us like some examples on how you keep them engaged, how you keep them coming back to renew their membership as part of your association? Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Diana. Of course, nice to hear your voice again. But again, to your first question, there are individual members in the alliance. So as what I presented earlier, there are 5 types of membership. So the 3 types of membership would be involving corporate entities. The 2 types of membership would involve individuals. So this would only be the honorary members and the founding members. So that will be the only 2 individual membership classifications that we have set. So that's one. And then your second question, why are they coming back? Why are they still paying the annual dues? it's really because of the, again, the value add that they are seeing from that engagement, from that membership, specifically on how well the Fintech Alliance represent them in the various fora, such as, for example, amongst regulators, amongst legislators. So they would see the Alliance as their voice in the industry to be able to articulate their sentiments or their aspirations or their suggestions or whatever to the authorities, right? Because, for example, there is strength in numbers, as they say, right? So as an individual, as a lonely fintech company, having to deal with government or having to deal with legislators, policymakers, etc., they see the value of having this alliance as the central voice, as the industry voice, to represent them, right? So, and the good thing there is that quite a number of cases where they were so delighted to be members of the alliance because, for example, we were able to represent them in the potentially potentially could have a potential impact on their business, such as the imposition of new taxes, for example. If it's not from that, from the efforts of the alliance of having to convince the Senate and the House of Representatives or Congress not to impose new taxes, but it's more of having to just come up with ways on how to effectively collect existing taxes. Then they were able to save on potential payment of additional taxes, right? So that's one. And the second, I think very recently, the supposed capping of interest rate caps amongst online lenders, for example. So supposedly the interest rate cap was set at around 2% per month for short-term loans, but we were able to represent again the industry so that we will not set it at 2%, but still market rates, but with a cap of around 10% per month. So instead of the regulators' proposal at 2%. So again, they sent their gratitude to the alliance for again representing them, because again it has so much impact on their business. If it's not by the way, if it's not due to the representations made by the alliance as a collective voice of the industry. So those are the value adds that they see from that membership. It has an impact to their businesses.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana.
Yeah, there's some words that we keep coming back to, right? Collaboration, industry voice, the idea of impact, value. There's some key things that we can be learning there, both for the associations, but they also resonate. I've got a whiteboard, in my office right now with those similar words on it, thinking about the Alliance of Digital Finance Associations as well. I mean, that's everything that we're all trying to achieve locally and internationally. I know we've gone over time. Lito, are you okay to stay on for just a little bit longer?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah. So I think there's another question though from Maxime.
Yes, Maxime next.
Yeah, thank you, Lito. The question I want to ask, is it possible, for example, that a member association has a concern, for example, which is threatened by the central bank of withdrawal of his license? Can the alliance be a voice? Can the alliance defend this association member? Because I think that this can be a source of motivation for new for membership. Is it possible that you support an association member which is maybe threatened, for example, of withdrawal of its license? Sorry.
Yeah, actually, it goes both ways now. So one is we can help a member on their particular issue, for example, with regulator, or we could also be an ally of the regulator insofar as having to discipline a particular member. So, for example, the National Privacy Commission mandated that all those entities who would be registering with the National Privacy Commission must have a membership with the Fintech Alliance. So they added that requirement that we should have that particular entity who's applying for a registration with the National Privacy Commission has to be a member of the Fintech Alliance. So actually, we didn't know about it. No? So we were just told. I was just told about it by the chairman of the National Privacy Commission. So it means that they are recognizing the Fintech Alliance as a critical partner in governance, right? And I think one thing to your question as well, we do support them, yes, on an individual basis if there are some issues pertaining to licensing, etc., etc. But one classic example, when one member of the alliance was penalized by the National Privacy Commission for breach, for the data breach, for the gross violation of the Data Privacy Act. Part of our membership rules that they signed up for would be if ever they are found to be in violation of any regulation or laws in the Philippines, we can expel them. We can expel them from their membership. So we did that. The first case that we were able to expel one member because of gross violation of the Data Privacy Act. So and then now after 4 months, they are applying for membership again. But we can only consider their application for membership going back to the alliance subject to the following conditions. So they have to have clearance from the National Privacy Commission, etc., etc. So that's how stringent we are in terms of screening. Because otherwise, if you have, so they say, that's what they say that, if you are infiltrated by some bad eggs, the issue on credibility and reliability, so far as governance is concerned, would be put in question.
Great, thank you very much, Lito.
Thank you.
We've got a question from Misha. Hi, Misha.
Hi, Misha.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Lito. I'm from Bangladesh. So my question for Lito is, not much on Alliance, but as a practitioner of fintech and financial inclusion, I have a question regarding the market that we are seeing in Bangladesh. Okay, I have a small business and I also work as a researcher in a research firm. So we are seeing that the poorer community or the businesses that are small in sizes, for them, financial inclusion is not very lucrative. Now, everyone has a smartphone. They would use the phone for various purposes, but when it comes to using the phone for digital financial uses, digital transaction, they are not very comfortable. On the other hand, the financial institutions here, they are not very, I won't say they're not very open, rather, the formalities or the requirements to start financing digitally or formally here is very complicated, or the processes are long. So what would be your advice, because you have been seeing it in your market, that what small steps the policymakers can take to make it more accessible for the small and medium businesses, plus the poorer community, to be included for digital financing? And if you have any, something that you have seen that worked, that would attract the poorer community to be more interested to try out digital financing frontier.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think to your question, because in my past life, when I was with Gavin, no? With Visa, Pundamo, Bangladesh is one of the markets that we covered. No? And of course, I know for a fact that Bcash and also Brack Bank and so on, and the other players in that part of the world have quite been successful in before we call it the MFS, the Mobile Financial Services. Now it's called Digital Financial Services, right? DFS. But I think what we've seen in that particular market is that there has been quite a huge adoption rate amongst amongst your people in making use of digital payments. No? So, but I think your government through your central bank has also been instrumental in terms of being able to push for financial literacy and digital education. And I think, of course, there are quite. I think you have. I think 5 or 7 providers there on digital payments. I mean the key ones. No? Of course, Bcash would be one of those leading ones, and I think similar to other developing markets, Bangladesh would have also a good example of digital adoption, right? But I think it's really more on how you will be able to sustain that moving forward, further expand the use cases beyond digital payments, right? So, for example, the inclusion of insurance, investments, lending, and even savings into that mobile app.
So, if I summarize what you say, that with time, if we keep adding different services on these platforms, it will be more, or it will be easier for the people to get onboarded, right? Because we are still on the mobile transaction phase, so people just use it for sending money, no other usage mostly.
And maybe, Misha, that's a wonderful thing for you guys as Digital Finance Forum Bangladesh to write a paper on or do some thought leadership on. Maybe that's where you guys have an impact in Bangladesh as to moving that discussion forwards. Maybe that's an area that you can go back to the team and brainstorm whether that's a direction that would be really useful and put some thought leadership in the space around that.
Yeah, actually, in fact, to the point of Misha, for the longest minute, we know for a fact that globally, mobile money payments would really they have actually started offering payments only, right? And we know for a fact that you cannot get rich from payments alone because payments are supposedly utilities, right? So, and you cannot, you would always, you will not earn from just offering payments. That's why, the bread and butter in digital financial services would always be lending, right, or loans. So that's why I think when you start with the payments, you really have now to add more features or use cases into that proposition, such as, for example, offering insurance products where you earn 30% commission out of the premium payments. The lending, which you could earn as much as practically 5% monthly. As a part of your revenues, and of course investments, etc. Right? So you might as well include some of those features, which will definitely provide you, revenue drivers to be able to sustain your operations and really make it big in this business. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Bernice.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Bernice.
Hi, Bernice.
Yes. Thank you, Lilo, for your great presentation. It was really thought provocative and lots of learning in there. I sorry I did not pick the session right from the beginning. So I would like just to know, I believe that to get to this level means that the alliance has been there for a while. So can you just tell me when was the alliance launched, and then maybe what was the main challenge at the beginning. That would be like this, my second question. If you were to advise now our alliance that we are setting up, what would be the loopholes that you want us to avoid to get to maybe the level that you are now?
And I think that's a wonderful wrap-up question. Like, going back in time, a lot of people on this call are several years, in the past for you, Lito. How can we, what advice would you have? And this is going to be our last question, guys, because Lito has to go on to another call, as do I. But and we can continue the conversation. We have a WhatsApp group, so we can continue the conversation there as well. But what's the advice? How do we move from we've just created, how do we move on that path to getting on the road to where you are, Lito?
Exactly.
Yes. So just two questions. The first answer to your first question, we were established in November 2017. To your second question, what would be the potential pitfalls that you need to avoid? I've been telling this to our members. The Fintech Alliance is not a social club. It is not an organization meant for just drinking, for just socializing, for just partying. Of course, we could party, yes, but we have serious business to do together. So, and that is practically having to share ideas, share our expertise, share experiences, and at the end of the day, come up with the best intention for the industry, right? You're not thinking of your company alone, something that, and of course, the collective mindset has always been, what is it that we could push and promote for the betterment of the entire industry? So that has been the vision, and that has been the marching orders. And definitely it has to start from the leadership, right? So, leadership by example. So you have to make sure that you command respect, and that respect must be earned by every member of the alliance. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you for your answers. They are quite insightful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone who joined us today, particularly, obviously, thanks to Lito for sharing that journey. I hope it's inspired, given a lot of pieces of thought to where we are going locally with our associations. We have our WhatsApp group, and I'm very willing to add more people to that WhatsApp group if they want to be added. Ado, I see your suggestion there about having a forum on the Alliance website. I don't know. I know I spend a lot of time on WhatsApp every day, and that's where I generally go to rather than being on the Alliance website. So I'm sort of wondering whether we keep that WhatsApp group where it is for now, but with the potential to grow. But let's use that WhatsApp group more. Let's, share ideas, ask questions, and get to know each other, and put that share those thoughts. Any videos anyone has, I love the 2 videos, Lito. Maybe you can send us links to those videos in the WhatsApp chats, so that other people can see them too. Let's carry on the conversation together. We'll organize more of these sessions so that we can share and learn from each other. And thank you very much. And Lito left really inspired. Would it be okay if you shared your presentation with us as well, so I can also share with those who missed?
I'll share that via the WhatsApp.
Wonderful. That would
the PowerPoint presentation and the 2 videos. Yeah.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you online in another session soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you very much, Lito.